Hello everyone, welcome to my video series called Six Sigma in Action, where we cover real life case studies using Minitab. In this chapter, chapter 3, we will be covering chi-square tests. Chi-square tests are fundamentally used to determine whether there is a significant difference between observed categorical data and expected distribution. And we'll be looking at a case study today that covers exactly that. So let's move on to the first phase of the demake process, the define phase for this case study. Imagine you are a process engineer at a candy company that makes M&M type candies. The M&Ms are sold in a packet and are claimed to contain 14% of yellow candies, 13% of red candies, 20% of orange candies, 24% of blue candies, 16% of green candies, and 13% of purple candies. That is the claim. Now, the company wants to know if the customers really care about the variety of colors in the candy packet, and if they do care, is the above claim that is made about percentages, is that correct when checked against their candy packets? So moving on to the next phase of the demake process, the measure phase. Do the customers really care about the variety of colors in the candy packet? To answer that, a number of customers are randomly selected in 5 cities: Boston, Cleveland, New York, San Francisco, and Chicago, and they are asked to fill a survey and rate on the scale of 1 to 7 how important the variety of colors is to them, from 7 being extremely important and 1 being not important at all. And that data is collected and organized. In the analyze phase of the demake process, first we will convert the survey data that we've acquired into a nice bar chart so that we can visualize easily the importance rating that customers have given across the city. Let's see how to do that in Minitab. So over here in Minitab, I've already populated the data we got from the survey. The data, the first column here represents the rating, importance of candy color, which is from 1 to 7. The second column represents the cities, all the 5 cities. And the third column is the number of people who voted. So 197 is the number of people who voted 7 in Boston. 274 is the number of people who voted 7 in Cleveland, and so on and so forth. Now that we have the data here, how do we convert this into a nice bar chart in Minitab? Just go to graph, go to bar chart, and since we have all the values in a table, select values from a table, and then we can have a stacked bar chart so that each bar would be represented by the city and the stacks would be represented by the rating. Hit OK. The graph variable in this case is the observed, and the categorical variables is the city and the ratings. So all that's good. Hit OK, and there you will see a nice bar graph with each bar being the 5 cities and the bar being divided into the ratings. Blue represents the rating 7 and pink represents rating 1. So just by looking at this graph, we can tell that the rating pattern is different across the city. We can just tell that by visually looking at this. It looks like New York, too many people in New York care very highly about the color of the candies. So you see a large stack of 7 in New York City. But we don't know if these differences across the city is statistically significant or not. And for that reason, we cannot just rely on the visual. We also have to do a chi-square test of homogeneity. So that is going to be the step 2 of our analysis phase, chi-square test of homogeneity. The purpose of this test is basically to find if the preference differences among cities is statistically significant or not. So the null hypothesis is going to be that the distribution of candy color importance rating is same across all cities. No difference in preference. And the alternative hypothesis is going to be that the distribution of candy color importance rating is different in at least one city, meaning that the preference vary by location, which is the question we are trying to answer anyway. Do customers really care about the variety of colors? If the voting pattern or the rating pattern is different in at least one city, then it kind of tells you that the customers do care about the variety of colors. So let's see how this chi-square test of homogeneity can be done on Minitab. To do the chi-square test of homogeneity on Minitab for this data, you go to Stats, go to Table, and select Cross Tabulation and chi-square. The reason we select this is because we have two raw categorical data. One being the importance of candy color, the rating, and the other being the city. And obviously, the frequencies is the observed column. Here we can do the chi-square test and also check this box which will show the expected cell counts. Hit OK, and there you will get the distribution, the actual distribution on the top, and the expected distribution. You can see that there are differences in these distributions, and we also get the chi-square test results. So the chi-square value comes to around 802.637. The degree of freedom is 24, and the p-value is 0. So if the p-value is 0, then that means that we have to reject the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis in this case was that there is no significant difference in the preference across the cities. We have to reject that claim. So it means that alternate hypothesis is what we have to subscribe to, meaning that the rating pattern is definitely different in at least one city. Now, just to show how far we are from the critical chi-square value for probability distribution, chi-square distribution of 24-degree freedom, we can plot a graph. Go to probability distribution plot, view probability, and here the distribution is chi-square, degree of freedom is 24, and if you hit OK, that'll show you the graph for a chi-square distribution. The critical value of chi-square is 36.42, and the value we got we can add as a reference line on the x-axis as 802.637, and that'll show you that 802.6 is too high. So the value we got of 802 and the critical value of 36.42 is massively different, and since they are different, we can confidently claim that there is a difference in the rating pattern across the city. And so we have answered this question: do customers really care about the variety of color of the candies? The answer to that is yes, they do care. And so we can proceed ahead with our next question, which is whether the above claim of percentages is correct in the candy packet. Okay, now that we've answered the previous question that the company had, which is if the customer cares for the variety of colors of candies, let's get to the second part of the questions that the company had, which is whether the claim of percentages that it has is that a correct claim. So the company wants to check if the claim of following percentages in a packet of candies is correct. Their claim is 14% yellow candies, 13% red candies, 20% orange candies, 24% blue candies, 16% green candies, and 13% purple candies. To help do these measurements, what they did is basically take a packet of candies randomly from the inventory and measure the number of candies of each color and write down the count. Here's the result that they got. In one packet of the candies, 29 yellow candies were found, 23 red, 12 orange, 14 blue, 8 green, and 20 purple. And also the percentage expected, which is these percentages, is also listed here. That basically is the measure phase for this part 2 of company's question. Now that data has been loaded into Minitab. One more thing that we would like to know here is the actual expected value. Since we already have the percentage expected, we can calculate the actual expected value because the total number of candies in a packet is known. If you count all of this together, it comes out to 106. And if 106 is just multiplied with these values, you will get the expected value. We can do that in Minitab. The way to do that would be using the calculator. Just go to calculator and feed in expected. Expression would be percentage expected into 106 and then hit OK. And that will populate the expected column. And now you get one column of observed and one column of expected. So a chi-square goodness of fit test can be done here to see if companies claim that the actual value matches the percentage. That can be tested. And that is what we are going to do in our analyze phase, chi-square goodness of fit test. The purpose of this test, like I said, is to check if the actual color distribution in the sample packet matches companies' claimed percentages. The null hypothesis of this test is that the actual color distribution in the candy packet does match companies' claimed percentages. The alternative hypothesis is that it does not. To do the chi-square goodness of fit test, let's see how it's done on Minitab. All you have to do is go to Stats, Tables, and there you'll find the option chi-square goodness of fit test. Select the test. In observed counts, you can select observed. In categories, you can select color. In the proportions specified by historical counts, it's the expected. This one can be input column. Select all the graphs and even the display results and hit OK. So here we've gotten the chi-square test results. Degree of freedom is 5 since we had 6 categories. Total is 106. The chi-square test value was 36.35 and the p-value was 0. Now since the p-value is 0, we will have to reject the null hypothesis, which said that it does match the actual distribution, does match the claimed percentages. We have to reject that. So it actually does not. And these graphs are pretty useful because it tells you which color candy is the problem child here. So we can see that the yellow candies are way more than expected. Red candies are also more than expected. Orange candies are less than expected. Blue candies are less than expected. Green candies are also less than expected. Purple candies are again more than expected. And this graph again shows that we really need to control the yellow candy distribution first, then the red candy distribution, blue candy distribution, and those are the biggest contributors in the mismatch that has been happening. So there we have it. We've also answered the second question that the company had, that whether the claim of percentages is correct. The answer is that they are not. So we move on to our improve and control phase from here. In improve phase, the company improves the production process to ensure that those percentages are actually met in the packet. And in control, the company continues taking random samples just like we did here, and to verify that the improved processes continue to stay in control. So that will be the end of this case study. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.